problem. They didn't recognize the disease. So she would suffer a lot without any help from the specialists. So again, she's at the hospital and she's very weak. That's why the doctor didn't allow her to go to the chapel. And she continues, although I had a great desire for it, however, I prayed in my own room. Suddenly, I heard the bell in the next room. You know, there is a special buzzer at every hospital bed, right? So the patient can call the nurse. So she heard that bell buzzer. And she says, and I went in and rendered a service to a seriously sick person. When I returned to my room, I suddenly saw the Lord Jesus, who said, my daughter, you gave me greater pleasure by rendering me that service than if you had prayed for a long time. And I answered, but it was not you, Jesus, but to that patient that I rendered the service. And the Lord answered me, yes, my daughter, but whatever you do for your neighbor, you do to me. Exactly. When he says something in the Bible, he means it. Like, wait a second, this bell was not calling Sister Faustina, wasn't it? She was just a patient in that hospital, she wasn't a nurse. So she didn't have to react. But the tender-heartedness of a merciful person goes contrary to the self-centered and minimalistic ideas of the contemporary world. Sometimes we hear people say, oh, the world is so brutal, you can count only on yourself, or aim for what you want at any cost. This is what we actually teach our children. You know, when they need to be successful. And to be successful, you actually need to be like a steamroller, you know, and just crush all the other people on the way, because you are aiming to success. Achieve your goals at any cost. The goal is important, no matter how many people you will kill on the way. So obviously these advices are not from good friends. Definitely not from Jesus' friends. A merciful man doesn't remain indifferent in an uncaring world. He doesn't have to be asked twice for help. And in fact, sometimes he does not need to be asked at all. Such a person is very sensitive and will hear somebody's soft cry for help quicker than the yelling of his own needs. Merciful tongue. When I speak about merciful tongue, while meeting with Latinos, they usually react immediately. You don't have problems with the tongue? Faustina says, help me, O Lord, that my tongue may be merciful, so that I should never speak negatively of my neighbor, but have a word of comfort and forgiveness for all. Let us hear another passage from Sister Faustina's diary. Today I was visited by a certain layperson who has caused me a lot of sorrow and who has abused my goodness, telling many lies. At the first moment I saw her, the blood froze in my veins. I really like that because it shows Faustina was a real human being. She had emotions, she could get angry. The blood froze in my veins, because there stood before my eyes all that I had to suffer because of her. And the thought came to me to tell her the truth, firmly and immediately, But at the same moment, the mercy of God came before my eyes. And I resolved to act towards her as Jesus would have acted in my place. I started to talk to her gently. And when she expressed the wish to talk to me alone, I then, in a very delicate manner, made known to her clearly the sad condition of her soul. I saw that she was deeply moved, though she was trying to hide this from me. Then I heard the words of Jesus. I am glad you behaved like my true daughter. Be always merciful as I am merciful. Love everyone out of love for me, even your greatest enemies, so that my mercy may be fully reflected in your heart. The first and natural reaction towards a person that has wounded us, that harmed us in any way, is an instant desire to hit back or to escape because we are afraid to be wounded again, to hide. Sister Faustina, she was very sensitive to the truth. And she wanted the person who came to her to realize the evil that she had committed. Like even for her own sake, that she would know that, girl, woman, what you are doing, that's really evil. So that's a totally understandable reaction. You could even say that's a Christian reaction. But a wise man say, one can say everything, if said in the right way. It is the way it is said that matters. Just reflect on your life. Have you tried that? Actually, the most difficult communicate that you know you should share with somebody, but you will think over it, you will prepare the ground, you will prepare your heart, you will ask for the grace of love toward the other person, and you will choose a good situation. You will meet with that person one-on-one, without emotions, just to meet and really, out of concern for that person, you will share these difficult words. Have you tried that? How it works? There are sometimes, I hear a lot actually of that, these situations in families which are so difficult when most of the times children, grown-up children of very religious parents, they decide to live with their partner without wedding, without sacrament. Then they stop going to church, etc., etc. Very, very painful for the parents. What should they do? I know many Catholic parents who just stay silent in that situation, saying this is their life. I'm hurt, I'm in pain, I know that's wrong, but I just stay silent. Is that the right reaction? That's what Faustina means, asking for merciful tongue? Likely, Sister Faustina, in the situation of meeting that person who wounded her, she didn't react it immediately, and she didn't follow the first impulse when the blood froze in her veins. She didn't said the truth firmly and immediately. But having the mercy of God in front of her eyes, she waited for the right moment. I believe she prayed in her heart for that person to be ready to receive the truth. And then, as she said the truth, the person, you remember the description? I made her know clearly the sad condition of her soul. And I saw that she was deeply moved, though she was trying to hide this from me. But I saw she was deeply Dear brothers and sisters, we mentioned that yesterday, that we need to know Jesus so good that in each and every situation we could quickly know what he would do in our place. This is what happened to Sister Faustina. First she wanted to react like on a natural level, human level. Then she thought about God. Wait a second, what would merciful Jesus do? And then she changed her first decision to react. If we really want to have merciful impact on other people's lives, we need to resemble Jesus, to imitate Jesus in our lives. Also in very challenging situations. Because mercy always focuses on eternity, on the eternal good of a person, not on the temporal good of a person. This is the most frequent mistake that we do. We want the temporal good of the person. I want you to be happy. Even if that happiness is just for a day or two or a week, but then you will suffer for 10 years or eternity, but I want you to be happy. So, just do whatever you want, whatever gives you happiness. Oh, I hear it so many times now. But they love each other, sister, they love each other. Is a feeling, an not explanation, but does feeling justify everything? Like even wrong choices, even sin? But it feels right. But it's a sin. But it feels right. But it's a sin. It feels right. Every sin feels good in the first moment. But then it doesn't feel good for many other moments. So is it worth it? Again, remember, Sister Gaudia, remember, brothers and sisters, when you really love somebody, you will be concerned and focused on the eternal good of the person. And think about this first, even if now it won't be a pleasant meeting, it won't be a pleasant conversation, a challenging one, but you want their eternal good, right? You want to be with them in heaven, right? I sometimes blackmail my dad like that. I said, Dad, do you want to be with me in heaven for eternity? Because I'm heading towards heaven. I don't know where you are going. Well, so decide. I know he loves me, so, that's the hook I have. Do you want to be in for eternity with me in heaven? Sister Faustina continues her prayer asking for merciful hands. Help me, O Lord, that my hands may be merciful and filled with good deeds, so that I may do only good to my neighbors and take upon myself the more difficult and toilsome tasks. Here, this is into one story told by Sister Justina. When we were together in Vilnius, Sister Faustina worked in the garden. I worked in the kitchen. I was alone and had a lot of work. Often when it was time to go to bed, I still had a lot of work to do. At times washing the dishes all alone. There were no dishwashers at that time, so just imagine a sink with a mountain of dirty dishes. And maybe even cold water only. Seeing this, Sister Faustina always made haste to help me, although she was tired herself and her health was poor and deteriorating. She had a great love and compassion for everyone. Merciful hands prove necessary in the course of everyday life, because mercy is a lifestyle, not a good action from occasion to occasion, not just one deed from time to time. Mercy is a lifestyle, it's an attitude of life. In the recollection of Sister Faustina, other sisters, they emphasized this regularity, this consequence. They said, she always did this or that. She always found time. She always helped me. When I read these memoirs about Saint Faustina, I was like, seriously? I know she's a saint, but come on, she's also a human being. Is it possible that she was always that good? And then I realized that even though sometimes it could have happened that she wasn't as compassionate and good and seeing other people's needs and responding, they remembered that regularity, her attitude, that her life's direction was towards the other person, that was her main course, her focus. So even if sometimes she didn't do something good, they quickly forgot that compared to all the other times when she was actually so good and compassionate. That's also a characteristic of mercy, not a caritative action once a month, but a lifestyle, daily lifestyle. Merciful feet. Help me, Lord, that my feet be merciful, so that I may hurry to assist my neighbor, overcoming my own fatigue and weariness. My true rest is in the service of my neighbor. Well, all the tired people in this church, I believe it's so hard for you to listen to that quote. My true rest is in the service of my neighbor. Seriously, you really want me to do more? In 1936, Sister Faustina wrote, "Today I was feeling more ill than usual, so I went to bed quickly. Before the usual prayers of the community finished, she asked for permission to go to bed earlier. But when I entered the bedroom," she says, "I suddenly knew interiorly